They got it wrong, boys. That's why them gypsies went away. Speaking of gypsies, I wrote this song last week after I was on this stage. It's a brand new song. I haven't played it anywhere. So if I can get through this without messing it up, it'll actually be a bit of a trick. It's called Zigzag Strings. And when I wrote it, I got to use my fingers to play it because that's the only way I think I'm going to get it right. Inspiration for this song, I found it down here at this bar. Everything in the song was I experienced at this bar, and then I got one fact off the internet which I didn't need to check too deeply. All to do with this first line. Cause there's loads of Gewehr rifles laying round in piles, bunkers on the top of the hill where you can see them coming for miles, and that don't sound so bad. Yeah, them was the words I had. That's true, it was. Then I figured out what I could do in order to turn around my lad. I'd move to Switzerland, join the Gewehr, maybe the Landsturm instead.
I'd join the Gewehr. I'm pretty sure had be Gewehr.
It's true, and then they'll teach you how to shoot a rifle straight to the middle of a piece of cheese.
So
sounds just like a piece of bottle of champagne.
See, the monkey is Faith Goldie, sitting on her hands.
That's actually a euphemism.
The monkey is showing, yeah, it is.
For somebody else. Yeah, when I go to Switzerland.
I done messed it up when I was playing it the first time around. Hey, the monkey is going to stand in for Faith Goldie tonight. Faith Goldie, this is the monkey, which is you. It's sitting on its hands right now, and even though the monkey can sit on its hands, I don't actually believe that the monkey is proving that you sat on your hands, though. The monkey has to like wrap them around once in order to at least, you know, sit on its own hands, but it's still got a tail. It's a nice monkey otherwise. I like the monkey. The monkey, he's going to stay with me. Yeah, I said he. I only had those things on because I'm setting up stuff in the background and I wanted to make sure I could hear. We're not receiving at fast enough rates as wow, let's see what's going on here. Still only 2 minutes in and it's already deciding to go crazy, huh? Yeah, Faith, here you go. In case you didn't catch it in the first time. Faith Goldie, this is your monkey. Sitting on its hands. In case you wonder what I'm talking about, it was earlier today I was having a laugh because of late breaking news regarding people who will or won't be appearing at the Kilroy Free Speech event in 2018, spring of 2018, and it's related to things I did back in September. It's directly related. It actually answers more than one question. Consequently, though, I'm ready to talk about something I haven't been ready to talk about up to now. Well, I mean, I was getting ready to talk about it. That's why I got this Blender file ready to go. So, you might ask, why do I use 5 days? For my calendar, I mean, because today is Tuesday. It's only going to be Tuesday for another couple of hours local time. I haven't got a clock display put up on this page yet, but I will show you what my clock looks like. When it's normally running, this is the clock display up here in the top corner. And when we're in this particular window, yeah, you can see it ticking away. It's the same clock. Anyhow, why do I use 5 days? It's an incredibly important question people might want to know the answer to, and I've got a whole bunch of slides prepared here for this particular question, and I'm going to turn that first one off. To make a short answer, like the shortest possible answer, comes from metaphysics. It's a philosophical reason, and it's approximately this reason. My metaphysical reason starts. It's difficult to actually pin down a time, but more or less, the concretized revelation of it for those that were in the know with whatever it was doing occurred around about 1973. Big shock. I wasn't even born then. That's the way I normally look at this. I say, hey man, I wasn't even born yet. I only just got here. That's how I normally approach the topics which are raised by this metaphysical construction. So I have to doubly point out, I'm going to double check actually before I get any further. Wow, this is like deciding totally to not work. Don't like the monkey? What's the matter with the monkey pair, YouTube? What's the matter with the monkey? I wonder what's the matter with the monkey. Gee whiz. 73 is where I was getting to. Around about 1973. It has to do with integers which are larger than 1. X is larger than 1 for the set integers. And I've been thinking in these terms since around about 2003 onward. I can actually say it took me until 2003 to properly get my head around what I was starting to do. And at the time I wasn't paying attention even to the world around me as I am at this moment in time. If we go by integers, for integers larger than 1, I use a 5-day calendar because 2 is the first interesting number. And it comes up, 2, bam, and then A2 brute, A to B, 1 2 2. It's pretty interesting. 2013, I would have been thinking strongly in this type of terms. So my understanding of the metaphysics of mathematics, not merely the practice and use of certain types of mathematics, but the metaphysics of it, adapted more or less on a 10-year schedule. 2003 was one of the points. This was the second point. And it comes down to this, in this doodle. I use a 5-day calendar because of this generalized, normalized problem. I shouldn't say the word problem. I shouldn't also say the word solution. That's exactly what we get to. For some reason I got a wrong number. Some opposing set of values. We have this number line sort of being constructed here, where there's X left in this middle area, and it's a variable. It might be there, it might not be there. We have to look and see. But there's a concrete A on one side, and then there's a concrete B on the other. There's these two opposing things. Oh, I know what it is. I've been going through some of these in previous videos, and I've got time codes marked down. And these things happen to be true for my own upbringing. I misconstrued these numbers. It's okay. Who do we blame for all of this? Well, I might as well jump ahead here and wipe out the doodle. We got total arse. Sorry, Aristotle. Aristotle is to actually blame here. Aristotle is also to blame for most of objectivism, if you ask Ayn Rand about it. And we can't ask Ayn Rand about it anymore. But when Ayn was in the process of talking about it, It was her who identified that it was on. It was on. I'm thinking on my feet here. It was on who identified that she herself owed no debt to anybody since Aristotle, and Aristotle would have been included in her debt list. That's how I interpreted her claim. Bear in mind that we had this deal here first. It was total arse with a script by Plato. A, aka grade A, fucking A, A-hole, A-bomb. That means A is one identity. And if I kill the doodle again, A is indeed none other than total arse's law of identity. A is A, the law of identity equals, or true. This is a true statement. This is what the value in logic is for truth. This is how it's categorically recorded in a sense. We could get into a more detailed defense of logic than this. However, it's kind of pointless to. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe me. But for the purposes of this discussion, I would ask that you consider believing me. How to put it is temporarily. If you could allow the cookie to be set for the length of this session, then that would be great. Thank you. A on the one side of that little doodle, that was, I could actually move the doodle. That would probably be helpful, but I've got other doodles added to the doodle, so I want to keep the doodle where it was doodle. I could also move this all out of the way, but anyhow. The law of identity A is A. We also have B on the other side, which is A is not B. The law of non-contradiction, A cannot be B. So we have two separate identities, and then there's some unknown value in our little doodle that we started with, X. So I could actually keep all three of these up here is the way I got them done, right? Yeah. X is either A or B, which is, the actual total arse quote. See description. We can scratch out the whole Plato bit. The law of the excluded middle. We don't have something that is neither A nor B. We must have, it can't be some other thing. It's S or that. And for some of us, that is not a very satisfying answer. It's probably the best and quickest way of putting it, isn't it? It's not a very satisfying answer at all. I got a whole sidebar here on cults. And if I was to, for a moment here, yeah, I might as well get the doodle back up. I want the doodle. Here's our A, here's our B, here's our excluded middle. Well, hang on a second. I can give the excluded middle an identity. Dang! I could call A -1. I could call B +1. And our unknown identity X is 0, point where both of them meet. And I could also think of it this way, that the value between this limit and that limit makes up 1. The value between this limit and that limit makes up 2. And this division between them is 0, the 0 point. So there's two values and where the value actually exists. And we could also think of some of the classic dichotomies in nature. There seems to be an upness in 0. We have north and south, we have yin and yang, we have a pair of angels and demons, we have day or night. These are all lovely concepts. This also gets us to the processing of Hegel. I've got all kinds of extra things written down. Total R says a dog, B, is not a wolf, A, for the law of the excluded middle. Thus animal X is either a dog or a wolf, like a coyote. What is it? Is it a dog or a wolf? Well, it must be one or the other. Let's call it a wolf instead of a dog. The law of the excluded middle is the thing which demands we make this distinction when coyote does serve as a separate distinction. So focus is our... Sorry. If I combine the 2 of the dichotomy with the 3 of the actual Hegelian synthesis, the Hegelian process, I get something which, to me, tells me why I should perhaps use 5 as an organizing principle for more things. It's a safe prime number. It has 2 plus 2 plus 1 to make it safe primeness. And yeah, if I wipe a few of these doodles out of the way for a second. In my mind, this is how the Hegelian, this is what makes Hegelian reality real. On this side of the division in the brain, in the reflective end of the brain, the internalized end, the secret world, as I've heard it called lately, we have an area for reflection and an area for demonstration, or for another way of putting it, solve and coagula in alchemical terms, if you'd rather. And then on the fore part of the brain, and the rational side of the brain, and the analytical, and even the perceptive parts of the brain, we have things like thesis, antithesis, and synthesis occurring. And then there's a filter wherein the eyes are connected to the brain, and then there's a filter between the eyes and reality itself. So a series of 3 filters, I think, at least 3 filters between what's reality and what we innermost think about reality. And to some degree, our thesis from what's existing in the fore part is directly related to what exists in the back part, like in the highly secret world. But how are they connected? Demonstration number 1. We're going to use Sherlock Holmes's construction. A demonstration of what must be true is to eliminate whatever possibilities there are, and then whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. This is a description of the dialectic. We have this process here. We have reflection and demonstration here. We have what the eyes see in reality itself. Sometimes Holmes doesn't even bother to actually turn anything over or look much deeper than to take samples. He's written lots about the samples he's taken, but frequently he only needs to use the evidence of his eyes to suss out what's more or less true. However, let me get back to what's here in the document I've already marked up to Hecagon. The dialectic being the art of investigating. First, as a noun, is used as the art of investigating or discussing the truth of opinions, or in a second sense, inquiry into the metaphysical contradictions and their solutions, into general metaphysical contradictions and then their solutions, which is a direct reference to Hegelian process. I got a whole bunch, as I said, I've got a whole bunch of notes already made here, so I'm wondering what I need to refer to at this moment in time, and it's not a heck of a lot more because it's all here. Here's 2 processes identified in this word, dialectic. and they're indicated in both usages of the noun. In the first one, there's a fission process. In the second one, there's a fusion process. One splits apart, the other one joins together. Or, in other words, the splitting apart is the or operator. The joining together is the and operator. This is in logical terms. This works for, if you're learning electrical engineering, this works for a lot of other things. And mathematically speaking, I can represent this to be true by showing A or B with a plus sign equals C or A prime, some modification. I also have example B, where we'll let each of these different places be represented by these common words, which are also nouns. But in my doodle here, we can see that there's this star pattern being repeated from here to here. If you don't see where I'm drawing the distinctions, then subject is thesis. The photographer, the idea that the photographer has of himself or themself, is B, the antithesis of the thesis. You might not have understood this before, but the antithesis of the thing being photographed is the photographer. C is the idea the photographer has of the photograph, the synthesis of the two. And then behind that filter, we have the film and the negative in reverse order. A is A prime. A prime, I should say, is the combination that comes from A and C. Film is what results from the photographer and the negative. Or the film exists on one side, the negative exists on the other. The photographer is there to get the right photons and then needs to do the developing. Oh. So yeah, I've got all of these already. Great. Before I get too much further though, I think I should take us on the sidebar, and this is an important sidebar. This is for what might turn into an ongoing series. Could turn into an if you're interested in this kind of thing, please let me know either in the chat or in a comment below. But this drifts really comfortably into what I can only refer to as the Cults 101 file. And I have a sidebar ready-made for the Cults 101 file. For the meta terms, for the metadata which is represented by the words mainstream, for example, we have this outer circle which is semi-permeable, and this inner circle which exists upon reflection. I can only say, there must be some agency which directs that reflection, but upon some reflection you can cross from the outer circle boundary through to the inner circle boundary, but it's easier to cross this one. It's always half open, whereas this one is almost always quite exclusive, very closed. And we see Hegelian synthesis in most cult organizations where there's this outer circle with an inner circle. What ends up happening is a bit of Pac-Man in a sense from overcrowding. As long as this is well populated, there's a chance that there's these competing inner circles that are going to form. The more open the knowledge of how to do that exists, the more likely this occurs. And this is what would be called fission. Sometimes the outer semi-permeable barrier will break. They all go spinning off. Perhaps something comes from the outside and breaks it, and they all go spinning off, and a whole bunch of new subcultures are born. But it's also possible for it to fusion. And when they fusion and become highly organized, this is what occurs. There'll be a very, very exclusive inner circle, and a slightly less exclusive outer circle to that, and then a slightly less exclusive outer circle again, and then a slightly less exclusive outer circle, and each of these will be more and more permeable as you reach the outside core, but you must always observe whatever order exists on the inside. It's in the COLTS 101 file. But hey, there's a rule of 5 here too, for closeted bureaucrats. Why do managers avoid more than 4 subordinates? And I'm telling you right now, this is the Coles notes for why 1973 matters to me metaphysically. This is something which is written down plainly in a book about the size of Atlas Shrugged, but which can argue down Atlas Shrugged almost every time if that's what you need to do. And this is one of those things which Atlas Shrugged doesn't talk about. Why do managers avoid more than 4 subordinates? Why are they taught to keep things simple at certain levels? And this is what's known as a factorial number here. 120. Another way of looking at this is 5 days. 5 days, 120 hours. So now, by geometric proof, 2 reasons why I've also found 5 to be a good harmonic number due to this influence. Number 1, by the center point. We can here again see that there's the use of about 5 key points. I could actually think of whatever is marked as X here as B, and X is still the center. 1, to find a center point, what I do is I would, for any given whatever, say a circle, to find a maximum measurement across here, A to X, then rotate that point A to X once, and then I can generalize a rule from it but in 3 steps, like find the center point, rotate, well, not center point, but lay down wherever there's a max point, rotate it once to find a center point, generalize whenever the samples is greater than 1, 2 should be enough. See also a diametric proof. And by circled square, not a squared circle, but a circled square. Here's A, here's A prime, here's B prime, here's B. Same relationship. Here's A point, here's B point, here's the X point. To find the X point, I rotate them. A prime, B prime. Length of X and Y determine the truth of the circles. Where C is the center, X would have to be the height, Y would be the width. If true that X is equal to Y, then X squared is the truth for this particular construction. So that's a circled square using my, again, using the 5 as a probably a logical enough demonstration of what logic is, or how logic might work. So the first reason is that, let me deliver the punchline. In short, the Discordians did it first, used the 5-day calendar, and because I read their work, which was published, a pinnacle point was, at least a plateau point, was published in 1973, 6 or 7 years after Mockingbird began, or at least Mockingbird had been announced. Then this stuff starts to come out. they have other words for some of these same ideas. For example, here on the demonstration of the brain, they would say, this is a bicycle, the reflection and demonstration parts of human deep thought, reflective thought. They would call this a tricycle on the front part of the brain, where there's different competing parts. I shouldn't say competing, but interlinked and laterally connected parts, which are not necessarily competing, but which are also not necessarily needed. So at different points they're being called into question or called into service. We can think of, as I was doing this out, I was thinking of another way of physically animating some of this information. And one of those ways of animating it would be to say, well, I've already demonstrated it, I shouldn't animate it any more than I just have. I got this idea from Proudhon, who himself was describing Hegelian analysis. Proudhon is a French writer from the early 19th century onward, and he's very passionately driven to try to educate the masses of people in the absence of anything like an internet about particular types of topics. One of them would have been philosophy, another one would have been property right, universal rights and freedom of expression would have been another things which two other things he was interested in. Proudhon put it like this, that there'd be the thesis you could think of as the block of marble, and the artist's idea, the antithesis, which is chipped away from the block of marble. And it's the description, the block of marble was there, the statue was there, I chipped away the pieces that didn't belong, and voila, here comes the statue. That which remains is the art that's the Hegelian synthesis, right? Both the original block of marble and the idea which created the block of marble are destroyed in a sense. The idea isn't destroyed, it's been transmuted to the stone, to the marble, but the thing which contained that idea is no longer required for that to remain true. Otherwise, if you get me, something has been removed from the entire calculation, and the art remains. Thus, it comes to me to really try to describe photography in these terms. When dealing with Hegelian analysis, you kind of got to ask people that want to talk Hegelian, hey, where do you allow for the film and where do you allow for the negative? If that's what you believe. And I say this because anywhere where there is some kind of an evidence, some kind of an objective proof that's being demanded, like a photograph, the reason, in fact, I could continue on with this sidetrack, the reason, in fact, that the internet's rules have one that says you show pics or you get the fuck out, that, my friends, is why I put it in these terms. We have the quick Hegelian thing at the very beginning, the problem, the reaction, the solution. See what I mean? The problem is the subject, the reaction is the photographer, the solution is the photograph. It's not the other way around. The photographer is not the solution. If you get me, problem, reaction, solution, right? And what I would say in deference or in opposition even to it would be that the beginning point is the thesis, the subject itself, the thing which causes the speculation, followed by the photographer who facilitates the creation of film to negative. The thing who makes this thesis work. The antithesis, in fact. The thing who uses a negative. And the actual art which is left in the real world as a result of it is the photograph. Metadata. It's metadata which depends on these very words, I think, and having a common understanding of them. Yeah, so Discordians have another funny idea. News at 11. Take it 2 steps further. I could actually take it 2 steps further, but I don't have any more funny doodles done up as for long ago. But this one I put on my wall a long time ago. This one. The Cults 101, and particularly this one. After a period of time, one of these groups can turn into a Pac-Man and eat one of the boundaries. Sometimes they merge together, sometimes they fuse back together after fissioning. But the highly organized cult is the one you can't miss. One with near perfect fusion. A highly Catholic cult looks like that. And when you look at it as in Venn diagram terms, when you look at it in circle diagram terms, you could think of this as being, instead of a pyramid, a series of circles which are concentrically laid upon one another, which form a pyramid shape in 3 dimensions. If you looked at it from 3 dimensions, you could pack a lot more people on each of the different levels if there were 3 dimensions and the permeable parts were stairways. A ziggurat follows this, closer to this pattern. More so than a pyramid. Well, the pyramid would fit that. And Discordians, they have many ideas. But if I was to use this 5-sided construction for convenience sake, they say that it goes through a 5-stage process, a bicycle and a tricycle. The bicycle is chaos, followed by discord. Excuse me, I'm going in the wrong direction. Chaos and discord, followed by confusion, bureaucracy, and lastly, you would find the aftermath. Sorry. So yeah, that's the majority of what I'd say. Sorry. Gosh. Don't know if that has anything to do with the monkey. In case you wondered about it, yeah, tonight this monkey is representing Faith Goldie. Faith Goldie has been sitting on her hands. So what we hear, she's sitting on her hands, is Faith. So tonight, let this monkey represent Faith Goldie. For now and for perpetuity, we're not sure. Hello, Faith. I put the monkey on my shoulder. You can see it peeking up. Peek up, monkey. The 3 traditional laws of logic are kind of the reason why James Damore's infamous Google manifesto caused a bit of a stink, and it was also the reason why I was interested in trying to express it in some of these terms. Since I know I recognize that this was what's at stake. There's no sense in thinking of it as an us versus them problem. Us and them is down here at basic algebra level, beginning to expand into more interesting ideas. And in fact, Google is talking about what's true about this kind of level, where all of the different ideas are leading up to specific solutions in, say, software. A highly organized system is not much different than a highly organized cult. Aristotle on the law of excluded middle. I took down a couple notes here. Aristotle himself said this. This is why I've written a line through Plato. But on the other hand, there cannot be an intermediate between contradictories. But of one subject we must affirm or deny any one predicate. This is where objectivism comes from. To not allow any goalposts to ever move. You could look at it that way. That's being really generous. And I shouldn't make excuses for the sons of bitches. But to allow the goalposts of metadata to remain constant in arguments which come down to things like, is it a wolf or is it a dog? The coyote. We must affirm or deny any one predicate, says Aristotle. This is clear in the first place if we define what is true, or what the true and the false are. To say of what is that is not, to say of what is that it is not, or of what is not that it is false. Thanks, Aristotle. While to say of what is that it is, and of what is not that it is not, is true and easier to get out of the head because it's so much more true. It's so that he who says of anything that it is or that it is not will say either what is true or what is false. Translation provided by an individual who goes by the name of W.D. Ross. Proudhon's definition of metaphysics is proper to philosophy and reason. Uses logical terms. Science uses observation to devise experiments and or demonstrations. Another little note I made. I've gone over everything, I think. Oh, another idea which Proudhon made really clear to me as I was thinking about this, writing all this stuff down and allowing some notes to spread out in graphic term. This reflection matters. Upon reflection really matters. Ideas aren't pure, they are additive. And people as early as their 19th, 18th centuries recognized it. They're additive upon perception. Thus, there's a regular annihilation being performed. There must be some form of annihilation existing when the reflection occurs. Some annihilation existing, or like occurring between one of these 2 points. It's more likely between the antithesis. So whatever the person's preconceptions are, as opposed to what's true about the outside world. That's why I've made the links right here. B prime is linked to both A prime and B prime. A to A prime and C. And this is, if you don't understand why I've made this relationship true, it's to do with Aristotle. A is A. And if it can't be A, we have to show where else it can be. C or A prime. The combination of them. A plus B leads to C. There's an annihilation sooner or later. The photographer takes a shot of film, so the particular moment is lost. You can't go back to it. You could take many shots of film in the same moment if you wished. It might actually do you some good. I don't know. I shan't soon forget it. No, I shan't. No, I shan't. I shan't soon forget it. No, I shan't. And to end this off, I've got one last Discordian reflection, which is, where is LeBouf anyway? Ooh, the monkey fell down? Come back here, monkey sitting on its hands. Monkey sitting on its hands. My goodness. Who ever heard of such a thing? A monkey sitting on its own hands. I wouldn't have said it was possible, you know, but I think whenever I show the monkey, for some reason showing the monkey doesn't go over well with Google. I can't understand why. Hello, Google. Hello, Google. I'm not sitting on my hands anymore. Yeah, where is LeBouf anyway in any of this? Where is LeBouf? Can you find LeBouf anywhere? Tell me, where is the beef of this? Where is the beef? LeBouf, I'll tell you what LeBouf's doing. As of a couple weeks ago, he's been trying to dox the people that took it out on his little flag. Doxing them from a position of economic privilege. Thank you, LeBouf. Thank you so much for all that you're doing. You idiot. I get off on all kind of tangents. I have to admit, I get off on all kind of tangents. And if I could only show you what else exists on my page, in the pages which follow this, because there are other things I could get into. I'm really, really happy with this part of the diagram. But this does get me quite far down the whole, how could I quickly and concisely show why 5 is the best number for organizing things like a calendar. I got other things here in this book, but they don't pertain to this discussion, so I won't flip ahead. I've got nothing else to work on tonight either, other than things which I haven't looked at in a while, and I don't know if I want to look at them again immediately. I mean to say they have to do with what occurred in Charlottesville. And I do mean to finish that project off and to do so in the live stream as well as releasing something. The curious thing is that I got a big piece of the puzzle today, one way or the other. I got a huge one. I'm going to pop out the chat just in case. I'm going to stick it here in the top corner. Don't really expect any huge shakes tonight when it comes to chat participants, but it's possible. And going to go back here and get this ready to play one more time. So now that that's queued, I can actually close this. Going to try not to interrupt too much. If you haven't heard this already and you're interested in fallout from Charlottesville, because that's the only way to describe it. It's probably the best word. It's fallout from Charlottesville. And to me, it's spectacular proof that not only did a hoax that occurred, but there were ways of easily defending against similar things occurring again in the near future. So this is Faith Goldie. I believe this was released yesterday. About over 24 hours ago.
I just wanted to have a quick word on the events that are going on surrounding the April conference in Phoenix and Kilroy. For those of you who follow my tweets, you know that I have withdrawn from the conference. Hi guys, I love you all as well. Sorry, I'm driving, so I'm trying to keep my eyes on the road, but also say hello to everyone. So I've decided to withdraw from the conference, which was not something that I really wanted to do, but I've been told that I should get on camera. So that's my rosary. That's like going back and forth. I should get on camera and also further articulate kind of where I'm coming from. So folks know, I mean, you could tell that there was blood in the water when neutral Tim Pool said, "This is too much." That NDA, that now infamous NDA non-compete has been leaked, and I'd urge you to go read it for yourself. Tune into Tim Pool's a YouTube channel, because he goes through it there. The thing's a farce. I mean, the majority of the headliners there, actually all of them, have spoken in various locations before. Never in my life, I mean, I've been given contracts, but I've never been given an NDA non-compete that spans several years to a 100-mile radius. I mean, that's cuckoo banana cakes. That's not serious. No one who is serious about putting on an event would have okayed that.
That's obviously not true. So what is it about this NDA, because it is not the non-compete clause? What is it about the NDA which ties the hands of a person like Faith Goldie?
Whether you have legal expertise
I tell you,
or not, that was a bit of a meme. So, I mean, all conspiracy theories as to, them trying to plot to get
Mockingbird,
certain characters out of their side. I had never been given the NDA, although I had caught wind of it before.
She's lying.
Before it had indeed gone public. So, I mean, I was kind of scratching my head over there, and I had sent Based Mama, who I don't actually know. I'm not too sure who she is or what she's about, but this based part of her name has become sort of a meme. I'd sent her an email saying, okay, so what's going on? Because if we circle back to several weeks ago, I was listed on the website, and I believe at the time of taping this, I still remain there. But so were folks like Baked Alaska. Now, Millennial Woes, for reasons we don't need to get into, was not listed on the website, but was indeed confirmed to be one of the scheduled speakers. So Woes and Baked reach out to me and say, yeah, we've been disinvited. So that's a little bit sketchy. So I reach out to some of the organizers, not Based Mama at this point, because frankly I didn't know who she was, and I didn't even know that she was part of the event organizing staff. So I reach out to them and they say, look, there was a scheduling conflict. And I honestly, despite making this video, I'm not into drama. So I just thought, okay, I'm going to take you on good faith. I see that there are largely skeptics here, but you've got some edgier folks. You've got some members of the dissident right, so to speak, that are coming on board, and you're kicking some of them off. Maybe it is just scheduling, because of course other members were still listed there that are part of perhaps the edgier right and not necessarily the skeptic community. So in good faith, I trusted them and I believed them. And then James Alsop, good old James Alsop from American First Media, subscribe if you don't already, he submits a
she plugs the whole way through
panel discussion that he had hoped to partake in, which would involve myself, one Brittany Pettibone, I believe Martin Sellner was one of the speakers, and Lauren Southern. And we had hoped to discuss identity as an identitarianism as it pertained to various jurisdictions, namely the US, Canada, and Europe. And what better people to do all of that than us, who have had all these various, experiences, not the least of which are, guys like Martin Sellner, Defend Europe, etc.
I didn't say this earlier, and the first time I played this through and reacted to it, so to speak, and I'm letting it play through, and I'm not nodding and smiling with her. I'm listening and thinking about what she's saying. And one of the things which I thought about really when I saw it the first time is, now this is the same person who's standing in the middle of the road at just the right moment, but she's not really at the intersection of the middle of the road. She's after entering from around the intersection's middle and weaving herself around a little wildly before heading north. And the whole time she's doing her thing, she's heads up and paying attention. She's not in as much danger. She's in more danger than she is in driving her car down. But you have to be responsible for the vehicle you're driving when you're driving your vehicle, if you know what I mean. And I ask you to watch her eyes so you get an idea of how it is that she holds herself while alert to what it is she supposedly is doing, her and her identity.
And as I understand it, that was kibosh, and all of this is documented email format, not emails that are mine to share, and those who were party to this email transaction might inevitably come out and do just that. But we were told that identity and identitarianism was not to be discussed. Under no circumstances would it be discussed at Kilroy. Okay, so I just kind of sat on my hands for a little while and thought, well, what do we do here? Because maybe we can use the podium to discuss kind of near customer issues, if you will. You know, when given a podium, let's make the most out of it. But then, less than 24 hours ago, James Alsop's name gets removed from the Kilroy event page. Keep in mind that all along, with this fluctuating event itinerary, they're selling tickets. They still got a bunch of headliners up there, and they're still selling tickets, okay? Okay. All of a sudden, without, you know, rhyme, reason, or warning, James has his picture, his photograph, and his name removed from the website.
Absolutely no drop frames,
so
I tell you.
I talked to James. James doesn't know what's going on.
Google seems to have a problem whenever the monkey comes into the frame.
Why this happened. Okay, fine. So I sent an email to Base Mama. I say, hey, some weird stuff is going on over there, y'all. What is going on? Oh, my buddy's getting disinvited. We can't talk about what we want to talk about. James now, his picture's gone. What's going on, guys? Fill us this in. And I get a response email that is completely blank from Base Mama's account. So what does that tell me? And I responded back to her. I said, hi, it's just so you know, I got a blank email. Don't know if you intended to write something in it, but
she's gone from PNG to ice cold B, if you know what I mean.
Indeed, nothing showed up. So what that tells me, and no response to that follow-up email now, several hours ago. That tells me that that is a confirmation of receipt. She did get all of my questions and queries and outstanding issues.
Jawohl, mein Führer.
And she has chosen not to respond to them. You know, they say where there's smoke, there's fire. And
yeah, like at the Reichstag.
I'm not going to hang around when I have a feeling that the whole damn building's about to come crashing down. So I'm not going to wait for excuses. I'm not going to wait for some other, you know, we're not idiots here. It's, you add 1 + 1 = 2. It would seem as though this is becoming a skeptic event. I got no beef with the skeptics.
It's funny because when she adds 1 + 1, sometimes her mathematics doesn't equal 2. That's the problem.
Y'all want to hold your events, do your thing. What I don't understand is why any sort of overtures to the dissident right were ever made in the first place. Was it to sell tickets? Because if it was, let me tell you, Baked, myself, we've got a lot of folks who are writing into us now saying that we spent $250 to come see, frankly, the dissident right speakers. And now y'all are off the list. And I'm sorry.
She has to overrepresent, I think, or misrepresent anyway, the financial impact this is going to have, as if the demographic she represents is the most important and most wealthy and the one who spent the most anyway on this particular thing.
If my self-dismissal had anything to do with that, but I could not in earnest stand there as all of my friends and free speech crusaders, if you will, have been disinvited. And now one member of the itinerary has said to, I think it was James, and it was one of the higher profile speakers.
So there's a monkey, see? And it's sitting on his hands.
If you're not making a speech on free speech, how do you expect to basically that's why obviously your panel was shut down, is because you weren't making a speech on free speech. So am I to understand this was supposed to be 2 days of panels on free speech? No, of course not. That's asinine. Anyway, we're here now.
I could be watching Star Wars.
I think that they got some, Lucy, you got some splaining to do. Sorry, for a lot of you kids, you're not going to understand that reference. That's from I Love Lucy.
Kids.
So.
Thanks. She's got a target market of kids.
Kilroy has some explaining to do right now, and like I said, I'm not looking for drama, but I'm also not looking for being frankly used as a pawn for ticket sales to an event which, at least from.
So now she's the exploited. Wow. She covered every demographic. Genius, right?
From the outside looking in, from a bird's eye view, looks to be censoring people when the very ethos of its event is supposed to be circled and indeed focused on the topic of free speech. So that's a little bit of a head scratcher, friends. Anyway, I just want to give you a little bit more of a robust explanation as to why I will no longer be listed on the Kilroy events page if that amendment has not yet taken place. But I will say this, like a phoenix from the ashes, we have heard...
Yeah, I said mockingbird earlier, right? So like a phoenix from the ashes, she's also using another unit designation now, isn't she? Using another unit designation now, aren't you? Unit designations.
We have heard you. We have heard the fact that folks want this event or an event like this to take place, and that there is a market to hear a bunch of us come together and...
Strange thing is she's Canadian.
...talk about issues that aren't just, you know, acceptable to the more emotionally fragile community, frankly. And so I'm hoping...
Oh, so now the organizers are emotionally fragile.
That everyone can look forward to hopefully an announcement sometime soon about another event where we really are going to be truly a safe space for free speech. In all sincerity, sincerity, rather.
She's wearing the right leather jacket, and I bet you the boots match. But where's her armband?
I do wish the organizers good luck and indeed better luck, because I think that there are certain really good people who are part of the organizing committee there who have very good intentions.
Methinks the lady doth protest too much. What do you say, monkey?
Sort of kinks or knots. Sure. Regrettably, I don't know if it's a personality thing. I don't know if it's a fundamental principles thing, but there is a communication breakdown going on over there, and it's not ideal. And regrettably, for those reasons, as they say in Dragon's Den and Shark Tank, I'm...
Yeah, goodbye. You're out of here, all right. So yeah, I think that pretty much concludes the broadcasting evening. Me and the little monkey. But it does explain some of the philosophical reasoning, which leads into using 5 days a week over here. And today is the end of, thank goodness, the end of Tuesday. Three's Day very shortly. May well be another stream in a little short period of time. I figure out if I got anything to edit together. Anything other than Seaville. But I do have some digging to do. Like research I haven't done up as of yet that needs doing. So maybe I'll get to the digging tonight. Thanks for watching. James PFP and the Banjocast.